Welcome to the Executive Corner, Expert Talks by Kalkine TV. I'm Sage, and today's guest is Mr. Stefano Marani, CEO of Renergen. And as the world comes together to reduce the harmful impact of global warming, many geographies are reverting to electrification where possible. Another alternative is carbon capture, as well as renewable energy resources. And today's guest, the CEO of Renergen, Mr. Stefano Marani, will share insights into leading an alternative energy investments company with a focus on South African and Sub-Saharan Africa. It should be a great show, so keep watching till the end. So bringing you live today, we have Mr. Stefano Marani, CEO of Renergen. Welcome to the show, Stefano.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you on, and with your strong background in not only investment management, securities trading, but also the renewable resources, we're keen to share your insights today. So in your opinion, Stefano, what is the future of the alternative energy sector?
So I see renewable energy, or at least energy in whole, kind of following a similar path to computing. So if you think back to the 1950s and 60s, computing was truly done on a mainframe, so one giant computer, and people had terminals. And then as the PC came along, it became decentralized. People had their own laptops, their own computers, and then eventually with the internet, everything kind of congregated back to the cloud and back to mainframe computing, and now we've just got portable devices. I can see power taking a very similar approach. We had the big coal-fired power stations, nuclear power stations, and that's kind of becoming decentralized with the availability of solar and battery with things like the Tesla Powerwall. Solar panels on your roof, and in time that will become a lot more affordable, that will become a lot more widespread, and people will have the ability to generate their own clean power until eventually we crack one of the really big technologies like fusion, at which point it'll then be cheaper to go back to a centralized mainframe, kind of like what the internet is doing for computing at the moment.
That sounds amazing. Thank you so much, Stefano, for breaking it down for us and making it so easy to understand. We really do appreciate your time that you've taken to come on the show today. And Renergen has consistently been accomplishing several milestones. So amidst your busy schedule, please talk about the recent milestones that you have achieved.
So we're a natural gas company in South Africa, but we've got quite a unique feature about our gas. Our gas is produced by bacteria, so in a sense it's considered as renewable. And South Africa obviously has huge energy challenges. That's predominantly predicated on the fact that a lot of the coal-fired power stations, which are massively pollutive, are aging and falling apart. So the milestones that we've achieved. We are in the throes of completing the construction of the country's first onshore LNG facility, and this is a big milestone not only for us but also for the country. So we've got the country's first and only onshore petroleum production right. We start hot commissioning on the plant next month, and we'll go into commercial operation around February, March. In addition to that, we've just completed a very big drilling campaign. And combined with the drilling campaign and the geological work that we've done, we've updated our reserves, and they're enormous reserves. They're materially important for the country from an energy perspective, but they're also materially important for the world by virtue of the fact that we have an enormous reserve of helium, which is particularly important to today's modern world, especially things like computers. And I saw the segment earlier on crypto. Crypto wouldn't exist without helium. So much so that it actually prompted us to issue our own crypto. So the milestones that we've achieved in the last few weeks have been important for us, for the country, and given the lack of availability of helium in the world right now, it's certainly a new supply that'll help ease the helium constraints globally.
I was going to ask you earlier when you mentioned the decentralization of the energy sector, if you were involved with blockchain or crypto in any way. Great to hear that you have launched your own crypto as well. There are companies in Australia and Perth specifically that I know of, Power Ledger, who's doing some interesting things with people's solar energy and being able to sell on unused solar energy in some ways. And we'd love to hear more about what your crypto enables people to do. And in these years, we've seen technological innovations and developments help alternative energy and other sectors advance. How do you think this is going to continue? And would you like to talk about crypto and blockchain now as well?
Yeah, so what we ended up doing, helium is an incredibly tightly held commodity. It's strategic to many countries. It's critical to US national security amongst a couple of other countries, and that's because of its uses in MRI, in nuclear, in all sorts of things. What we ended up doing was we're trying to bring around a democratization of the helium market. So helium at the refinery level is sold at about $250 per unit, and hospitals, for example, are paying between $1,000 and $1,300 per unit. So there's a huge bid offer spread in terms of what helium trades for. And what we've done now is we've entered into an offtake agreement with a US company. That US company has gone and issued tokens, or is in the process of issuing tokens. And those tokens can be tradable by retail investors who wish to participate in that massive gap between where helium is issued at the refinery level, where we're selling it at $250, and where it trades in the market at $1,000, $1,300. The beauty about the token is that it can actually be delivered back to our plant and you can collect the helium. Not that we'd imagine the average retail person wants to receive a liquid at minus 269 degrees Celsius, but the point is that those tokens would then be on-sold to end users like the MRI manufacturers, like companies that are sending rockets up into space, because rockets need an inordinate amount of helium, a huge amount. Electronics manufacturers, it's companies like the fiber optic cable manufacturers. And we see this kind of development as being the future of the way the junior mining companies such as ours end up funding themselves. If you compare the efficiency of pre-selling your commodity through crypto as compared to, say, listing on an exchange, this is significantly cheaper capital, and you're allowing the end user to participate more meaningfully in the underlying commodity. So we think it's quite an innovative transaction.
Absolutely. It seems to be disrupting many sectors with its cheaper transaction fees especially. But this is actually the first time I've heard about helium being discussed in this way. I've heard about the emergence of green hydrogen, which is slowly making itself known in industry. But this is very interesting news about the helium reserves, and thank you for sharing this information with us today. And your tokenomics sound great as well. Where can people purchase your tokens, and can we know what the ticker is for them?
Yep, for now it's available online. It's in a subscription phase. So you go onto our website, Argonon, ARGONON -HE. The HE is obviously for helium.com. So argonon-he.com. You can subscribe for the tokens online, and we're close to announcing an exchange that they will be listed on relatively soon. So they'll be freely traded in the open market probably in the next month or so. But for now, we're still in a subscription phase.
Excellent. Thank you very much for the scoop there. So we were having an interesting trajectory there when you were talking about your helium reserves and the gap in the price. Would you be able to elaborate a little further on the helium especially?
Yes, of course. So helium is one of those really, really strange commodities. It's critical in many uses, and it's got no substitute. So, like I said, you can't build an MRI machine. You can't operate an MRI machine without helium. You can't operate nuclear power stations without helium. You can't manufacture electronics without helium. And up until about 2018, the world had gotten used to this status quo, where about 50% of the world's helium was coming from a strategic reserve in the United States called the BLM. This reserve was originally built by the Secretary of Defense in World War I. They stockpiled helium, and in about 1970 they started auctioning this helium off. MRIs were invented, and the world got used to and comfortable to this fact that 50% of the world's helium was coming from new sources and 50% was being depleted from the BLM. Long story short, in 2018, Trump declared helium the second most critical element to United States national security. June 2018, the BLM then stood up and announced that they've run out of helium and that they were now literally draining the very, very last bit of helium left. My understanding is that the BLM ends its production in about 2 or 3 months' time. And then that's pretty much it. New production is incredibly rare. Concentrations around the world range from Qatar, which is 0.01% in its gas, to the United States, who are the global rock stars at an average of 0.35%. And then thanks to an asteroid hitting South Africa 2 billion years ago, we've now got concentrations at an average of 3.4%. And we've got wells that are clocking in at 12%. So it's a completely unparalleled discovery.
Amazing news, and thank you for sharing it with us. And it seems that helium has been spoken about largely within the special interest groups, and it just shows how important it is to have experts like yourself come on here and share with us, the press, trying to get it out there to the viewers. So thank you again. And we're getting to the end of the discussion now. Lastly, what's upcoming for your company, Renergen, that the investors should keep their eyes on?
So there's obviously hot commissioning coming online next month. We'll go into steady state production January, February, with commercial operation in March. We're expecting to take a financial investment decision on our second phase plant in the early part of 2022, so probably around January, February. And we've recently made loan applications to the United States government, who financed the first phase of our operation. We've now gone back to them for credit committee approval for the second phase of the operation, at which point we should then be comfortable with the capital required to then construct the second phase, which we're hoping to come online in 2024. So there's quite a busy calendar, and then obviously there's a cheeky little trip to Houston coming up in the next couple of days. Quite excited about that, leaving on Sunday. Gonna get to see some pretty spectacular stuff. So it's an interesting few weeks ahead.
Thank you so much for making time for us amidst your busy schedule again, Stefano, and some very exciting news coming from your company there about creation of liquid natural gas from bacteria. So thank you again for some mind-expanding knowledge, and hopefully the viewers can do some research into that if it is of special interest to you. Thanks again, Stefano.
Thanks a lot.
So for those who've just joined us, we had a very informative discussion with Mr. Stefano Marani, the CEO of Renergen South Africa. If you're interested in their products and what they're up to, please have a look for yourself via their website online. And the full recorded interview will be available from YouTube at Kalkine Media for you to re-watch, to take in some of Stefano's insights. And please keep watching Kalkine TV for more of the live market updates and expert talks. Till the next episode, stay apprised and invest wise with Kalkine.